Kurn Mad Paramo Mad Bhakta Sangha Varita Nirvara Sarva Bhutesu Yasa Ete Pandava. My dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. Anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on Krishnaloka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the Supreme Personality, Krishna, must take this formula as is stated by the Supreme Himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with the purpose of lording it over nature and who do not know of the real spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, here is the verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in his spiritual activity. Devotional service. As far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. No work should be done by any man except in relation to Krishna. This is called Krishna karma. One may be engaged in various activities, but one should not be attached to the result of his work, but the result should be done for him. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. If a businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for his sense gratification, he can construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity's service, as is outlined in the authorized books of devotional service. This is all Krishna karma. One should not be attached to the result of his work, but the result should be offered to Krishna. One should also accept as prasadam, food, the remnants of offerings to Krishna. If, however, one is not able to construct a temple for Krishna, one can engage himself in cleansing the temple of Krishna. That is also Krishna karma. One can cultivate a garden. Anyone who has land, in India at least, any poor man has a certain amount of land, can utilize that for Krishna by growing flowers to offer him. He can sow tulasi plants because tulasi leaves are very important, and Krishna has recommended this in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna desires that one offer him either a leaf or a flower or a little water, and he is satisfied. This leaf especially refers to the tulasi. So one can sow tulasi leaves and pour water on the plant. Thus, even the poorest man can engage in the service of Krishna. These are some of the examples of how one can engage in working for Krishna. The word Mat Parama refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to the higher planets, such as the moon or sun or heavenly planets, or even the highest planet of this universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahmayoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishnaloka or Goloka Verdavana. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he's not interested in any other. As indicated by the word Madbhakta, he fully engages in devotional service, specifically in the 9 processes of devotional engagement: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friends with him, and surrendering everything to him. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8, or 7, or at least in one, and that will surely make one perfect. The term sangha varita is very significant. One should dissociate himself from persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but also those who are attractive to fruitive activities and mental speculation. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows: Anyab Hilasita Sunyam Yana Karmati Anavritam Anakulyena Krishnanu Salanam Bhaktir Uttama. In this verse, Srila Rapta Goswami clearly states that if anybody wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kinds of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When freed from such unwanted associations and from the contaminations of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna. That is called pure devotional service. Anukul yasa sankapla praktiku ulyasvaram. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kamsa was an enemy of Krishna's. From the very beginning of Krishna's birth, he planned in so many ways to kill him. And because he was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, while working, while eating, while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every respect. But that Krishna consciousness was not favorable, and therefore, in spite of his always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that's not the aim of the pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavana. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems in life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord risking their lives for spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Similarly, in India, there are also many examples, such as Thakur Haridasa. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it's difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal human society, of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now, we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time, which devours everything, and even the form of Vishnu, four-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Visa Rupa or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important. but the original form, two-handed, Sayamasundara. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attached to the Sayamasundara form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should understand, therefore, that the purport of this 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the universal form.
That was nice. So I guess the two-handed form is the original form, they said.
Yeah, that's what it said.
I think the hardest part for me is understanding or knowing when the universe is talking to you. Because this, they mentioned that in here, like you should follow the words or advice of Krishna. It's like, I even like question when I'm giving money to a charity. I'm like, well, is this going to really go to the right place? Am I just throwing my money away? And then like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be questioning those types of things. Pam, you're on mute. Pam, you're still on mute.
I had a mute moment. I don't have those very often. I think it's important to question which charities you're giving money to. I think that there's in the business world, I'm sure in your world, we call it due diligence, where you have to you can't just hand it over.
Yeah.
It has to be done with intention, because for me, I think it's important that charities have paid employees, but it's not something I want my money to support. I think it's important for corporations to support that. Like when JP Morgan donates money to the American Heart Association and it goes toward paying an admin cost towards someone's salary. I like to support more local volunteer-based organizations. And so I do my homework to find those. So some people get so frustrated, if you donate your money to this organization, it's just going to the CEO's salary. But it's important that we have paid people running these nonprofits. There's reasons behind it. So I think for me, the point is every action we decide to take, there needs to be an intention behind it. And that pause is when the universe is going to talk to you, maybe just what you decide to eat that day and do that day, and who you're deciding to hang out with, and which charities you're supporting, and which TV shows you're watching.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I have problem tapping into when it's the right thing to do versus that intuition of, yeah, you should be doing this, or no, you shouldn't be doing this. Like if somebody comes to me for help, for example, and just an example, I don't know. I'm trying to put it into different words and registering whether or not that's worthy of my time or not. Yeah. Is that person have good intentions?
Yeah, I mean, if you had a real specific example, that's something else. But I know that book, Same Kind of Different as Me, that I mentioned before, was a really good book. The idea of handing somebody that's living on the streets a $20 bill. But right. I see differently now, and I'm not. It just. I think the more we do, the more. What's the quote? The more we know, the more we don't know. So yeah. Just have to and I feel when you step back, and that's really what this Gita is. It's stepping back and I like the example that they gave me last night of like a sports example. Like you have a referee in a baseball game or not a baseball game, an umpire in a baseball game or a referee in another sporting event. And they're there to make judgments, non-biased judgments of the rules of the game. Even if they're a hardcore Yankee fan, they can't like make calls that favor the Yankees. And this is what we have to do in our own life. Like we have to become these like step away from ourselves almost and not think about it as like a right or wrong type of thing. It's just like what's your intention behind it? Like you want to give someone $20 on the street because it's going to make you feel good, then do it. Who cares how they spend the money if they spend it on drugs or whatever? That person's suffering so much anyway that if they're leading a drug life and you're giving them $20, it's not you can't decide how other people spend money because that's not the charity. Otherwise, then don't give that person the $20.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a really good example, right? Because if you're giving somebody money and they're going to go spend it on drugs, then you feel as if you're not doing good, right?
But yeah, before I read the Same Kind of Different of Me book, I used to feel that way. I don't feel that way anymore. If I give people $5, if I give them $5, that's the end of it. I don't get to judge how they spend their money.
Yeah.
If their one vice is drugs, I mean, there's a bigger problem behind them living on the street. They probably have some sort of mental or drug issue. It's not something I'm going to solve by handing them $5.
Right.
You know, and there's a bigger reason why they're living on the street that has nothing to do with me. They probably aren't allowed to live in the shelter if they have a drug problem. There's nowhere for these people to go. So if I can make their day a little bit better by handing them $5, and they let them choose how to, and like I can see how people do not agree with me on this, and that's totally fine. I'm acting as like an enabler, but that's also why I choose not to hand people money. I put my money somewhere else. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel but yeah, so I think I had this example happen to me last year. So weird. It's so funny how the universe works. Somebody stole $10 worth of quarters out of my car. Like my car was parked in my driveway here. It's a very common thing. They come around, they open your car. I don't lock my car door. I still sometimes don't. I try my best. Sometimes my keys are still in my car, so at least they don't steal my car. So I went in my car. I noticed immediately that the glove compartment was open, the center. So I knew somebody was, and my car door wasn't even fully shut. So like I knew.
Yeah.
Luckily, they only took the quarters. I don't keep anything else in there. So I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I felt violated. I did. I'm like, if they would have just come and knocked on my door, I would have handed them a $20 bill. What happens, like, and this was during last fall. So like fall is always a very desperate time. People asking for money. They want to provide Thanksgiving. They want to provide holidays. A lot of people were losing their jobs last year during the pandemic. I was like, if they would have just knocked on my door, I would have handed them a $20 bill. Well, I go to Home Depot to go get my Christmas tree. This woman walks up to me in the parking lot. I've never had this happen to me before in my life. And she was like, I just lost my job. I'm just looking for money. I'm like, oh my God, this is the person that's knocking on my door that I just called and was like, if somebody just asked me for money, I would give it to them. I had no choice but to hand her a $20 bill because I just put that out there.
Yeah.
It was like, I think about that moment all the time, like that test. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get to judge how she spends this money. I don't know if she's lying to me. Like all of that had nothing to do with the point of it was like, am I really true to my word? Would I really hand someone $20 if they ask me for it? And it's a tough, I hear you. It's tough, especially when it's somebody close to you and especially when it's money involved.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps if you do it anonymously.
Yeah.
I mean, the person to whom you're giving the money knows because they're getting the money from you. And somehow, you know, unless you can figure out a way to do it that anonymously, but if you don't tell anybody else, it becomes something that's more, it's more meaningful, and it just becomes, it is a thing. It's not a big thing. It's just a part of your life, and you just do it,
Yeah.
if you can.
And I don't know if I would look at it as like a right or wrong, Domenica. It's just like, is it like a truth to you?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
because like who's like take the judgment out of it, like the right or wrong, because we've been taught, there's so much unlearning I'm doing, because like what I've been taught is right isn't right. Like they're like who's labeling the right and the wrong?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I also like to direct, I want to help everyone and just give everyone all my money, but also this is not helpful too. Helpful is directing people to a source. It's like the whole idea of charity versus philanthropy. Like if someone's coming to you constantly for something, you're not, that's why we have charities and nonprofits and resources in our community. I often have to direct people to the actual organization because they're the professionals and they're the experts. If it got to that like sort of extreme, like people often come to me like, can you help me find this or help me do that? And I'm like, I can't. I have this amazing organization that would be great to help you. I can't do it. It's okay to say no.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And it's really hard. I'm not saying these things are easy, but and sometimes we make mistakes. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna say yes when we meant no, and we're gonna say no when we meant yes. And the mistakes are what we grow from. All right. I'll sit up nice and tall and take a few breaths. I might maybe Sue, you're gonna hop off, right? Oh, I didn't even know Amanda left.
Yeah, I meditated earlier this morning, so I'm going to hop off right now, but I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, okay?
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Sue.
Yeah.
Do you stay on the whole time too now, or do you still have to leave at 8:20?
I still leave at 8:20.
Okay, so I'll set my timer for like 15 minutes, and you just pop off whenever you need to.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
I forgot to ask, Kramer's better today?
Yeah, he woke up with rapid breathing again. It might just be part of him. He doesn't look uncomfortable, but he had all his walking and, he had a completely regular day. I already woke him up this morning and let him out and fed him and everything. So he's already asleep, but I don't know.
Okay.
I'm like, lead us through breath. All right, take a few breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Take a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing. Right thumb to nose, right nostril, inhale through left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Settling into your meditation. Bringing your hands to heart center. Namaste.
Stay.